Hi, I'm Carrie Blazer, mother, shaman, and recently published author of My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain. Additionally, a lot has been revealed to me over the past few years that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. And in my book, I detail the men that I've helped, like Andrew Tate, his best friend, Justin Waller. I had a personal relationship with Justin Waller. In 2022, the same year Andrew's problems started. Then I helped 2 Fire Academy instructors. That all led me back to JC, who I didn't know was JC when I found him again after 40 years last fall. But he's currently the head of global security at GoDaddy, if you want to know where he's at this lifetime. Okay, so while unveiling my soul as same soul as Mary Magdalene, and you can look in the description to I have a whole write-up on it. I'm redoing my website, so there'll be a lot of information there about all the signs and synchronicities that include my birth date is June 25th, and a lot of other signs and synchronicities, let's just say, beyond that Jason's initials are JC. Okay, so today, I'd like to talk about something I just learned. Okay, so my ex-husband's Israeli. I didn't just learn that, okay? My ex-husband's Israeli, so I know a little Hebrew. I don't know biblical Hebrew. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. And that's why I met my ex-husband in Tibet. He was traveling after the military in 93. I was traveling after I got a bachelor's degree in Chinese and religious studies in China and Tibet. So I know a little bit. You know, I've lived in Israel. I know a little, okay? But I don't know Christianity that well. I've never, even though I lived in the south of France from the time I was 1 and 3, another synchronicity, because the Cathars started a religion in southern France after Mary Magdalene's teachings, and it originated in the Languedoc region where I lived in Toulouse. This came from Toulouse, my mom, okay? So in looking at, I just watching this video today, in looking at Jesus's name in Hebrew is Yeshua. But Yeshua doesn't translate to Jesus. It would be Joshua. Okay? So let's look at the different meanings and how this all happened. Okay, so Yeshua in Hebrew means salvation. Okay? Early Christians, there are a lot of different kinds of Christianity. Mary Magdalene, a lot of Gospel of Thomas, Gnostics, taught that salvation is within. Self-love creates heaven on earth, which is what I've found. And I talk about that in my book. Okay, so they went from Yeshua, meaning salvation. Then in the 4th century, at the Council of Nicaea, when Constantine needed to unite parts of Europe after a lot of war, and then all these kind of warring factions of Christianity. Then, when they decided to adopt 4 of the 21 Gospels, not all of them, of course, not Gospel of Mary or Gospel of Thomas, Gospel of Philip, you know, the Gospels that really talked a lot about Mary Magdalene, who, you know, was at the crucifixion and was the first one at the resurrection. So what happened was, his name was Yeshua, and that means salvation. And then they changed it to a Greek name during the Council of Nicaea in the 4th century to Iosis. Now, an earlier rendition or antecedent to Iosis is Joshua. And that means the Lord is salvation. God saves. Okay? I'm going to play something from a video. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. Okay?
The language of the empire. Centuries later, with the addition of the letter J to the English alphabet, it became Jesus. With each step, the essence was diluted. With each translation, the sacred vibration was stripped away. They did more than change a name. They performed a spiritual inversion. A mystic who taught of the kingdom within was turned into a king who ruled from a heaven without.
So, early Christianity teaches about salvation within, heaven within, Christ consciousness within. And what they did in the Council of Nicaea is change it that you have to go to the Lord for salvation. God saved, so they made him son of God. Also, he was Jewish with a wife, a companion meant wife in biblical Hebrew, with kids. So if he becomes like, then his kids would have, say over his religion. We can't have that. And they were Jewish, and these people aren't Jewish. So then what, right? So, I mean, there's so many reasons why Jesus became not a prophet or a teacher and the son of God, and strip him, and he became celibate. And then Mary, his mom, was, was a virgin. But don't forget that we're all made in the image of God. But then he's born different. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. It's a story. It's a narrative made up for control. And I talk about this in other videos, evidenced by that, we go to Jesus for forgiveness. Forgiveness is feminine. But there's a repression of the feminine. Don't forget, Mary Magdalene was a prostitute, even though that was Jesus's wife. But they had to get rid of her, right? We'll just shame her and we'll make her a virgin. Like, what are in Christianity, it's like the two top women, one's a prostitute and one's a virgin, or, gives birth as a virgin. Like, where am I supposed to go there, as a Christian woman? So, something that I've only learned this month, because I don't know Christianity, is only a week ago I started making these videos. I started feeling confident enough to come out. I'm like, okay, Charlie Kirk passed away. I'm like, I got to be brave. I got to be confident, and get the word out for healing. And so I started on September 14th. The next day, through some research, I found out September 14th is the exaltation of the Holy Cross. It's the day in the 4th century, right? Got to validate it. Council of Nicaea, that they found the Holy Cross in Jerusalem. And then they're going to teach that the cross, where Jesus died, that's the only path to heaven. It's total fabrication. The whole thing. Change is an inside job. We don't have control. Like, we're all souls having a human experience. Jesus' soul can reflect positivity back to people, but only when those people internalize that positivity of their own volition, of their own soul's will, can they change themselves. So it's not Jesus changing anybody, no matter where his soul is or isn't. It doesn't matter. Because each soul has sovereignty over its own energy, and no one has control over our own emotions, our own energy. Like, actually, why are you making yourself responsible for someone else's emotions? You don't have any control over that. Like, if I can call 10 people stupid, they're all going to react differently. Some will get offended, some won't care, some will just be quiet. Why? Because the way they decide to interact with that energy depends upon their own soul's plan, their own sovereignty. So I'm not in control of that. So I just like everybody to keep thinking about, who Jesus really was, and who Mary Magdalene really was. And what's more likely here? And, some wisdom that came through my first enlightenment experience, because I've experienced enlightenment many times. And now I know that the Cathars in southern France who followed Mary Magdalene taught the way of love. And she spent a lot of time about spiritual awakening or enlightenment, which is an emotion. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies. So you'd think I would understand enlightenment. But no one ever taught me that enlightenment's an emotion. So the wisdom that came through is that our perception of God, one man, singular, is a glitch in the matrix and creates a patriarchy. So, because God creates and orchestrates, but creation is feminine. It's a right-brained activity, like forgiveness, compassion, nurturing. It's all inside work. Feminine work is inside work. Women doing the inside. Religion, is what I see it. It's feminine wisdom that men stole, put it in an institution, created a masculine god, and then pushed women out. Because if a man can go to Jesus for forgiveness for cheating on his wife, why does he have to go to his wife? And he could pay for it too. See how convenient that is? So convenient. Anyway, so so I started looking at this during my first enlightenment experience, where God is creates and orchestrates. I'm like, okay, well, if we make God dual in nature, because reality is dual in nature, so we're created in the image of God, then we're dual, man and woman. So he she, he she, I'm joking, but like in Thailand and in every country they've had men who dress as women, the he she's, but watch Gangs of New York with Leonardo DiCaprio. They have him in there. But so I'm like, okay, well, if we give women credit for creation and men credit for orchestration, and we take that model into the home, like, what are we going to do about getting women back in the home because we're 20 years from population collapse? If we value women in the home more and see their role as equal, because women are talking about equal, right? I mean, you can't equal, and they're not done talking about it because we're not equal yet. But this is what they're talking about. That we need to change our perception of women and God and what God is, and that healings and enlightenment's inside work. It's an emotion. It's where you receive wisdom and face catastrophic fears, proven by physicists. So if we could take that model into the home and women value it, we could teach women how to occupy the center of a home, be source energy. In my book, I dedicate it to a Cherokee proverb because it really helped me understand men's and women's role. And right now, women, you see them on YouTube all day long. Well, what's a man's role? He provides and protects. So what's a woman's role? I'm here. I'm here. I'm like, girlfriend, you got a womb. You give birth to kids. That's your job. I know that feminism taught you that that's not your job, but that's your job. So anyway, if women can learn to occupy the center, and the center of the household is emotional intimacy. Well, emotional intimacy is where mental health is created and sustained, which we're having a mental health crisis. So yeah, women leaving the center created a mental health crisis, and now we're 20 years of population collapse. Yeah, it's not working out. And it doesn't, our hormones are out of balance, we're a shit show. So if we have this model of God and we reflect that into the home, then we really support women. Like the center is equally important to the lead. And then, men understand that they provide and protect. They're the orbiters. And also if women are the center, when women are out, then men are way out. So a bunch of men made these decisions, but what were their wives doing? And why weren't their wives taking care of their husbands better? So collectively, as men and women, together, we got into the situation that we call the patriarchy and the oppression and all that. But we got to get out together. And how do we get out together? Well, we love ourselves. We figure out how to love ourselves. We give ourselves permission to rest. Most people don't rest. Get off the computer. I use a simple technique called appreciate, learn, forgive. Appreciation, gratitude, it's a heart opener. It's how you surrender. You have to surrender to your pain so you can understand it, because there's wisdom stored inside. I know I figured that out. It was cool. So be appreciative for your challenges in life, because that's how you find more self-belief, more self-confidence, more self-love. Like, if it's easy and a sunny day, we're at the pool, no problems, no reason to change. It works. Only when there's problems, only when there's a reason to change, do we change. And that's just life. I don't know. You got to learn to surf the waves of life. Okay. So be grateful for your challenges, open your heart, and then self-reflect. What is my soul showing me in this moment? The universe is a mirror. So when I see selfishness in someone else, that's my soul showing me selfishness inside of myself. So every time you see negativity outside of yourself, you can self-reflect on that. I mean, that keeps you busy for the rest of your life. That was a lot. That was hard for me, but to accept that reality. But I think that's one way that women can really hold themselves accountable, which I had a hard time too. I did. As a story, and I keep saying my book, but there's a story in my book about my first hero, and there's 6 heroes in my book, and 3 of them are the first one, and then 2 Fire Academy instructors I met at yoga. And I met Justin on Instagram. I DM'd him on Instagram, and he got right back to me, and that was June of 2022. And the last one is my hero from my childhood, JC. So those are his actual initials. So Yeah. So, oh gosh, now I like, oh, right. So, the first one, Tim, we were at yoga and he had a special, a special relationship with one of the yoga instructors. Well, she used to joke sexually all the time to flaunt her side business as a dominatrix. So one day I'm flirting with him in the front of class, the front of her class, there's like 30 people there. And she starts stomping around his mat, dominatrix style. And he lay down and he started like protecting himself as if they're like an invisible whip. And I'm like, he messed up. Like, there's no way that I can't, there's no way. He's way more messed up than me. That's just truth, right? It took me 2 years to admit that, oh yeah, I'm safe. Because we project and we blame men and women, we really need to understand ourselves better. So please trust me when I say that I know that when you attract someone into your life, you are equally messed up. But the woman as a center, the band rotates on the woman. So if she's out, then he's way out. Once I figured that energetically, like laws of physics, I'm like, oh, yeah, and I got to hold myself accountable better. So that's what I got for today, and I'll keep sharing. I was going to share something from the Da Vinci Code, which has a lot about Mary Magdalene. If you like that movie, want to watch it again. But there's a lot coming out now about Mary Magdalene. A lot more tours of her, people talking about her, and so the Cherokee proverb. I think I forgot to say. So the Cherokee proverb is. A woman's highest calling is to connect a man to his soul. So he can unite with source. So that's the inside work. And a man's highest calling is to protect a woman so she can walk the earth out unharmed. That's outside work. Women are designed for inside work. That's why right brain is feminine, because the left side of our body is feminine, and church is inside work. Yet there's all men running it, and women aren't allowed to talk, and all these things. But if women knew how to do that inside work at home with their man, with their family, then church still plays a great role, but we can find Christ consciousness, salvation, enlightenment inside of our own souls. Enlightenment is the expression of our souls. It's part of our healthy, normal, human emotional range. So keep going inside. You'll find enlightenment there too. All right. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye.